have now demonstrated there. It wasn't the Palestinians running away, they were driven out in 1948, and they finally accepted a division. But who was not satisfied with the division were the Israelis. So it's not a question of the Palestinian organizations driving them out, it's the Israelis who now want the mythological greater Israel which never existed. Never. Not even in the Old Testament, if you read it closely, which they claim. And they say we want it all. We will not share. That is what they said. Every time they tried to move forward, they were backed by the West, except in the late 50s, when the American President Eisenhower gave an ultimatum to the Israelis occupying Gaza. It's in 57, I think, if my memory is right. And Eisenhower said, I want your troops out of Gaza, I want you to get out of Gaza. They protested. He said, if you don't get out of Gaza, we will impose sanctions on Israel. This is an American president. The point I'm trying to make is that when they want to, they can do it. And they might have to do it if the situation in the Middle East deteriorates. I have no doubts about that. They do ultimately what is in their own interests as an empire. That has always been their position, and that remains their position. And all these arguments, we've heard them before. When the Vietnamese National Liberation Front was bombing cafes in Saigon, cafes inhabited by US soldiers and their hangers-on, they were called terrorists. And the Vietnamese said, very publicly and openly, we bomb them because you're there. If you get out of Vietnam, the bombings will stop. The Algerian National Liberation Front said exactly the same thing, saying, yes, our women militants go and put bombs underneath tables where French people are sitting. We won't say sorry, get out. And when the French journalists questioned them further and said, you justify it, and the FNL leader talking to the press said, look, bad things happen when countries are occupied. We're not proud of this. But why don't you give us an air force so we can bomb with more precision? That's what they said. So every single liberation movement has, no resistance is pretty. We said this before, and we say it again. And those of us in solidarity are not obliged to support every single measure taken by whatever resistance movement. That is their policy, that is their line, that is how they defend the country. We don't have to support every tactic. And we don't. But by and large, what we do say is that in case of struggles against imperialism, we take sides. In the struggle